Hello and welcome to the session. Now let us move forward to understand the remaining topic for the modern approach for keyword-driven framework. Now, now that we have seen the fixture part, we have seen the page object and the config part, and so let us recap once again. So in the Excel, so we have this fixture where we have given the keywords and given the items what we want to do before all, what we want to do after all, what we want to do before every step, what we want to do after every step. Now we have also in terms of handling the web elements properly. So we have done the page object where we are storing the elements page wise, right? And so on. Now next thing is the config part. So here basically some global variables and their values we will be storing, and typically this will be put in an hash map. Okay, so we will see the hash map also. So variable and email, if you want to send an email from this email to this email and email password. So if you want to use Gmail, it's very simple. That also we'll see. If you want to raise a database query, so we will see with an example. And and let us now understand how to write a test case in this with this modern approach. Now this looks little complicated, but once you are used to it, it will, believe me, it will be very simple and it will be very easy to maintain, easy to understand. Right. Now I will start with the index column. So every step will have an index, whatever step it will be. If you want to insert blank lines between the test cases, which is also fine. So in that case, these two will be ignored, right? So we are using every row by this index. Now every test case will have its own test case ID, test case 1 2 3 or up to whatever number of steps you have, right? Now what is the category of action? First thing, okay, what is the category we want to start with? So what is the category? So for every test case, tc create category is mandatory. When you say tc create, that means the test case creation is started and the execution will also start. So that is what is here, test case create. So it is mandatory to identify the start of the test cases. The automation has to know from where to start execution of the test case, right? And then I have one more variable here. So test case enable, yes or no. So we can control what test case we want to execute from here. Okay, so if it is no, that means the test case will not get executed. Very simple. Only if it is yes, then only it will be executed. Now other thing is this test case tag, right? So just like your BDD Cucumber framework, we can provide a tag or sort of a special name to a test case so that we can filter out the test cases. Let's say I want to execute all the test cases which are for the login related. So I will give this tag as a command line parameter, and all the test cases with this tag will be filtered. But of course, if the test case is enabled, then only it will be executed. Otherwise, ultimately it will not be executed. So ultimately every test case should be enabled and a particular tag should be passed from the command line, right? Now this is bit traditional approach where we have start of the test step, end of the test step, start and end of the test step, right? Now in each particular step, right, I need to again pass on which category of uh, activity I want to do or action I want to do. So typically it's all Selenium. So Selenium navigate to something, Selenium wait, Selenium click, implicit wait, verify, send keys, and so on. Now remember, we have seen this earlier. For every particular activity or an action, I have a separate function, and that separate function will be put under a switch case, and based on this keyword, that function will be called, of course, by passing the parameter. Right. Now this is all about the Selenium category of test cases and action. There are other steps also, other category also. So let us see. Right, JavaScript. So we have Selenium action or activity and JavaScript activity or action. Both are kind of similar only, but I have put it as a separate category so that it is easy to implement, easy to understand. Now I want to do scroll down using JavaScript. I want to do scroll up or scroll to bottom using JavaScript. So we have seen this in the advanced Selenium session where I have separate, I can do the scrolling using JavaScript. So only thing is I put it that particular functionality in a separate method and I'm performing that particular action using this particular way. Right. Now this is all the Selenium JavaScript action. Now let us see robot action. Okay, robot category. Robot category is basically related to desktop automation, wherein I will move the mouse to a particular location and I will send some keys or type some keys and so on. Okay. Now that is one thing, and one more is there for database. So uh, when some particular test has started and consider that I want a particular value from a database. For example, I want username and password from database itself. So that I can extract from the database here and I can continue. So that particular category and action is also added here and so on. Okay, now coming to the column number E, column name E, the particular. Okay. Now before that, let us understand what is happening to this page object and config. Now when the fixture will be called, when the page object will be processed, what is going to happen is the automation is going to consider or copy this uh, page object or config individually and put it in a hash map. So in a hash map, the key will be, for example, page home underscore btn search submit, and the value will be this. So key and value, right? If it is in the config section, then the key will be this and value will be this, right? Key and value. Okay. So overall, what is going to happen is before starting the execution of the automation, all the values from the page object and the config section will be put in a global hash map, right? We will see in the actual coding also, but that's how it will be, right? And so now when we put the values in a hash map, and so then that is what I'm going to use here. For example, URL home, right? URL home. So let us go to config section, and now you have a URL home, and this is the value. So here in the test case section, you just need to provide the key, and the automation will take the corresponding value. Okay, so remember, this is again one more simplicity here. So no need to provide any hard-coded URLs or hard-coded values here. Of course you can provide it here, but then when you specify that in the config section, then you just have to reuse it here. Okay, now if you see sign in, this is the step here, sign in with a valid user. The Selenium click action or activity I'm doing. So on what I need to do click, so page home underscore btn sign in. So from where this will come, page home. So I will go to the page object and page home btn sign in, and this will be the locator which will be used. So what is going to happen, it is going to do driver dot find element by css selector with this css, and it is going to do action. Okay, it is going to click on it. Okay, then it is going to do an implicit weight. Implicit weight, you can put implicit weight medium, high, low, or implicit weight equal to this. So key and value also you can pass in the particular section, right? Now similarly, send key. So on the page login and text box sign in password, in this text box, you will be entering the username and password. Now from where this valid login user, valid login password has come, it is coming from config. Valid login user, valid login password. So so when this fixture will be called, in that fixture config values will be read and it will be put in a hash map. Okay, and that hash map will be used here. So we have to just provide the key and the value will be referred. This is very easy if you start using it, because you don't need to do anything in this particular test case sheet for your particular test case, right? So everything will be controlled by this config and page object. Right. So test case create, test case enable, test case start and stop. start and stop. Then the core activity, let's say Selenium, JavaScript, robot, database, and then of course we have the test data for a particular core activity, right? Now using elements defined in the page object. So that is what we have seen. We can define the elements separately as a page object in the separate sheet, and we just have to use the key here in our test case sheet using config variables. That also we have seen, right? Now it is interesting enough to see a demo. Okay, so now again I have created a very simple project here. It's a Maven based project and I'm using JUnit Maven flavor here. This can be also extended for Maven plus test engine. Okay, that source code related description is link is in the description. Yeah, so now what I'm doing, what I've done is I have created a sample Maven project here, right? How to create a Maven project and all we have seen in the earlier session. I'm using this compiler plugin with this version and for this Java version 1.8, but this is as per your business requirement, you can change it. Now I'm using something called as a Surefire plugin. This will be used to run a particular JUnit class, or in future also you can use it for testng classes. There will be equivalent option for the testng classes or testng XML file, right? And now I'm using some dependencies here for normal operation. This is just like any other project where you need to add the dependencies, right? Okay, this is about how to create a simple project and how to add. Okay, now this is again a ready-made implementation, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible.